we're all personal brands. That's who we are. And one of the things we always want to look at when it comes to manifestation and magnetism, no matter what we want to create in our lives, money, relationships, friends, health, it's all about authenticity. And so if you look at your inner world and there's part of your inner world that you are not fully expressing, that is what you need to do. You need to express that part of yourself, because now you're being fully authentic. Now you're being fully magnetic. If your brand was a gift shop, what would be inside? And that's a fun way to think about what are the things that make you you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I just got home from part one of my 30th birthday celebrations. I went to Coeur, Idaho this past weekend with one of my best friends, Stacy. We went there last year to celebrate our birthdays because we have close birthdays to each other. And we wanted to do it again this year. Coeur d'Alene is one of my favorite places in the world. It's so magical. I feel like I do so well there with the lake being right there and right on the water. The forest is nearby. It's just an ideal environment for my body. It's nice and dry. I love the resort. I love the energy. Everyone's so nice. I love it's in this little town, like where the resort is. I don't really extend beyond that little town. And you feel like you're on a movie set, kind of. So I feel so amazing there. I feel so relaxed. And every time I go to Coeur d'Alene, I have really profound insights about myself and a really profound spiritual experience. I feel like I go there every year. I've gone there for a while for my birthday. But to really move through a personal transformation process, and around my birthday each year, it's a time when I'm reflecting. It's a time when I'm thinking about who I want to step into in this next version of myself, about what I want to focus on in my life, what I want to clear out. And it's just so powerful for me to go to a different location, really have some time for me to clear my head, to clear my energy, to not think about anything else. And there's so much synchronicity that always drops in for me there. In general, I feel like, I'm always getting signs and synchronicities, but it's on another level when I get to Coeur d'Alene. As soon as I land in Idaho, we were joking, just in the airport, there were signs everywhere with people's names who I know. And I was like, oh, it's a sign about that person and that person. I feel like I'm always shown what I need to release when I go there. And one of the things I love about it is the spa. If you know me, you know I love a good spa. I like to go to the spa once a week because I get a massage every single week. It is a huge part of my self-care practice, my spiritual practice. Is a lot for the physical body, and I just love it. But the Coeur d'Alene spa, I just adore. What we do when we go there is get this package where you're basically in treatments from 10 a.m. until 5 or 5:30 p.m. And there's something about having that many treatments in a row where you're just being fully taken care of and your body is detoxed. And I feel like I am in a ceremony as some, like the past lives it'll bring me to often is like I'm an Egyptian queen and I'm being taken through different chambers of preparation for my physical body, or being an oracle and being taken through these different preparation practices, these ritualistic practices to prepare my body and my vessel for my transformation, for my upgrade, for what I'm about to bring through for the world. And for reference, in California, what it costs to get one massage at like a resort hotel is what it costs to get 6 treatments at this spa. So that it's like literally I feel like I'm cheating the system. But so we go through the whole day. We got a full body scrub down, like they scrub down your whole body. I feel like I'm in the Hunger Games in that part where they like pluck every hair on their body. They're not doing that, but it's that kind of vibe, right? You're going through this ritual of transformation and coming out a different person and like scrubbing every part of your body. And I'm feeling like, okay, we're clearing so much energy. Like I don't usually scrub myself that hard, and I'm clearing out so much energy, and I can feel it. And as that's happening, I'm getting all of these messages about people and memories. All these things are just coming up for me that are really getting detoxed out of my energy body. When I go into the day from the get-go, I set an intention and I go into it like a big ceremony, like a big ritual. I go into the morning, I write in my journal about what I want to clear and how I want to feel. And I ask spirit to activate me to my next level, to open up more abundance and love in my life, and to bring me clarity about the highest and best way for me to show up next. I set all of those intentions, and I'll send a hi to myself and kind of get myself in that vibe and carry that frequency through the whole day. So I'm having that initiation type of ceremony for myself. And then we go into the body scrub and we're clearing out all the old energy. And then you go straight into a massage, and like so much is moving out there, right? All of the energetic knots in my body. And, one of my favorite times to get all my downloads is in a massage. I mean, I was writing so much down. I had like half a notebook full of things that I was writing down. Then we got a lunch. Then we got our nails done, our manicure, pedicure. Then we got facials. So you're moving in even more lymph. And then we had this amazing soak, like a mineral soak. I love a soak. It's all vibey. There's lights. They've got these different essential oils and the different salts, and the jets are going, and you feel like you're in this portal. And by the end of the day, I feel like a different person. And I went in the sauna in there in between, but I'm totally out of my everyday life. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about anybody else except myself. I'm just fully in the present moment. And that's when everything can start to move and shift. And it's something that I look forward to every single year. I've kind of trained myself vibrationally to know, hey, when I go to that place, things are going to transform and shift and change. And I feel like when I'm in Coeur d'Alene and going through that process and all of the different kind of traditions I have there, I always feel like I'm looking back in a way where a lot of people and memories are coming up for me, where I'm realizing how much I've grown, how much I've changed, and what I need to release. And it's usually things that are not in my conscious mind at all. It's stuff from sometimes years ago, sometimes childhood, that just pops up because it's those energies that are still hanging out there. And I realize, whoa, there's still a piece of me that is running from that pattern, or, holding on to that memory, and that's informing how I see things or how I do things. So it just allows a lot of clarity because I'm fully in the present moment. One of the reasons why it's so powerful is because I'm in a different location. And I think this is really important for people to understand. I think part one, I'm in a different location. Part two, I'm really not on my phone. I'm really not paying attention to anybody else. I wasn't really answering any messages from people. There were times, even like at night, where I would think, oh, let me just check Instagram or something. And I was like, no, I literally don't want to, right? I want to get in my robe and sit on my bed and read or journal or even just watch cable television. But because there's something about, I came here, I'm fully energetically disconnected from everybody, and I want to just stay in this bubble. And there are two key pieces, right? So there's getting out of your location and getting off of technology. Why this is so powerful is because we are actually disconnecting from all of the energies that keep us distracted and keep us confused. So a lot of times we try to, one, figure things out, get clarity, and or transform, become a new version of ourselves while we are in our everyday environment. And it's not that it's impossible, but it's really, really, really hard, right? So I have a retreat coming up in April at the end of the month. I'm literally so excited. Retreats, there's nothing like them. I think a small mastermind is kind of close. Some of the one day in-person things are a little close, but there's truly nothing like a small group of people where we are together for 3 or 4 days straight, like sleeping in the same house, eating every meal together, going through this journey in a vortex. The rest of the world literally doesn't exist, because how you can shift, I mean, it's like you can do 5-10 years of work in a weekend because we've disconnected from everything else. Because one, where you live and the places you frequent, they hold vibrational memory. And this is why it's harder to change habits for people. We form vibrational grooves, right? So I'll give you an example. Me and my sleep, it's natural for me to be a lot more active at night because the rest of the world is kind of slowing down and sleeping. And so I come alive because the veil is thinner, the spirits are all talking to me. I'm not feeling into the energy of everybody who's active. And so a lot more can come in for me. So I often feel a lot more creative at night, but I really want to switch that to early morning time. That would be much better for my circadian rhythm and my cortisol levels. And I'm like, okay, it's really hard for me to shift this pattern when I am in my house, because every day in my house, I formed routines. I just tend to get in bed at the same time. I just tend to wake up at the same time. I just tend to do this and then that and then this and that. And sometimes I'll be like, okay, I want to change my routine to this, but I keep just not doing it. Why do I keep not doing it? Because this house, this place, it holds vibrational memory. It holds vibrational grooves. It's kind of like, when you set your circadian rhythm, so your body, your hormone cycles have naturally aligned with where you've been living. And so it can take a little extra effort to shift those circadian rhythms, to shift those circadian cycles. But where this also comes into play is with patterns or with moods. So a lot of times I'll have clients who feel like, okay, I feel so good with you in sessions. I feel so good at my house. I have my spiritual practices. I have my physical and mental well-being practices. And then I go into the office and I just become super crabby. I just become super bitchy. And they judge themselves a lot. And I will tell them, well, the place itself needs to be cleansed. The place itself holds memory. It holds frequencies. It holds vibrational grooves. And it holds vibrational habits. So you can be really high vibe and you go into that place and the energy current of that place starts to take your mood somewhere. It starts to take your habits somewhere. It's literally a current that's pulling you in a certain direction with the way you think, with the actions that you take, and with the way you feel. And that's going to be connected to the people around you. So what we want to do is actually clear that space to fully reset it and do as many things as possible to change the energy of that space, changing furniture, changing vibes, adding some new things in, really drastically changing people's schedules, even things where it can feel like a new space so you can fully show up in a new energy. So to bring that back to why traveling to a new location is helpful, sure, it's like extra helpful to go somewhere that's really nice for your astrocartography. But even when I travel places where I have bad astrocartography, I have bad energies, I have the most powerful, beautiful spiritual experiences because it's just being in the energy of newness that allows me to receive new downloads, to receive new insights, to form new habits. So the second I went into Coeur d'Alene, I knew all these things I wanted to shift with frequency patterns, actions, daily routines. And I just immediately shifted into it when I got there. And it was easy because that place doesn't have all of the vibrational memory or habit built up that I have in my everyday life. And then it made it very easy for me when I came back because I felt so good just to hold that. I could hold that and form a new vibrational group here because I already had the momentum. So that's one of the reasons why it's so powerful to get out of your space. And then part two, when you combine that with you're in a space that, again, no memory and no energetic connections to anybody else. I don't know anybody personally. I mean, I know some of you, like through the internet, but I don't have any like close personal relationships there, right? Of people who are calling me, needing me, texting me, who I can feel their energy. It really feels like, in a good way, I'm alone there. And this weekend I was with my friend and it was like, we were together in it. And there was this sense of just peace. And so I'm not feeling the energy tug from anybody else. I'm not feeling their thoughts. I'm not feeling their patterns. I'm not feeling their judgments. A lot of times we feel confusion because we're picking up on the fears and the thoughts and the ideas and the patterns of everybody else around us. And we think they're ours and they're not. And so finally, I'm in this space, I'm in this vortex where it's just me, myself, and I, and one of my best friends. I am unplugged from work. I'm unplugged from relationships. I'm unplugged from any responsibilities for, 2 full days, which is powerful, right? I'm not cooking for myself. We're being fully taken care of, right? Spa day, eating every meal out. It's fully receiving, and I'm able to be so present because there's no energy cords pulling on me. And that is when just the floodgates open up. I was sharing with a couple of my friends a lot of the insights that came through for me over the weekend. And they were like, damn, I can't believe how much happened. I can't believe how much you kind of unlocked and realized. And I'm like, I'm not surprised, because that's what happens when you are fully present, when you're disconnected from everything else, and there's actually space for insight to drop in. You're not overthinking it. You're not putting pressure on it. And I wasn't going into that weekend thinking I need clarity in all these things. I certainly set intentions, and then I just forgot about it. I let it go. I said, hey, I would love to feel this way. By the end of the weekend, I would love clarity on these things. I thought about that on my flight over. And then I let it go, and I just was present with my friend. And a lot of the insights that I had came in so randomly. It wasn't like we were sitting there saying, okay, let's unpack this. Let's figure this out. Even like trying to channel around it. We were just talking about random stuff, and it just kind of fell into our lap randomly. And there are multiple moments I said, how do we even get there? Like, what were we just talking about? And we couldn't even remember. That's spirit doing spirit's magic. Like, that is the divine. That is the power of when we get out of our conscious thoughts, our logical thoughts, that left brain that's constantly running, that mind that's constantly running and trying to make sense of things. And the mind is trying to figure out by gathering from the data it already has. But if we don't know the answer, we don't have clarity, it is not in the data in our brain. Otherwise we would know it. It's somewhere in the unknown. It's somewhere in the field, and that has to have space to get delivered. It's not something you're going to look for and find. It's something that you're going to receive. And that's why when you can shift into a state of fully receiving, you can make massive, massive transformation, because you are fully in an energy of flow and just letting the river take you. And the river can move really quickly and take you all the way down to a brand new place, versus when we're trying to transform and we're trying to let our higher selves take us, the universe take us down the river, but we're also thinking, we're also trying to run the show. We're also, well, I have to do this and that, and I have that responsibility, and what if this works? We are trying to let the river take us downstream, but we're simultaneously trying to swim upstream. That's what you're doing. And so when you can get in a space where you don't need to figure things out, you don't need to think about, when am I cooking? Who do I need to take care of? Who do I need to reply to? You're removing all of that, and you can just be. You're out of your everyday life, and you're being taken care of and witnessed. And I think this is also a testament to, yeah, I have powerful experiences when I go places myself. And I also have often even more powerful of an experience, like being with one of my best friends, somebody who knows how to really hold space and just witness, somebody who I feel really safe with, who, you know, one of the things that I love about Stacy, and I was telling someone else this earlier, it's really rare to find people who have the skill of being able to hold space and offer reflections to truly just guide you to whatever you know or what you feel, instead of trying to always insert their opinion or unintentionally projecting their own experience or how they would feel onto what is going on with you. And that's one of the things I love so much about her, and I appreciate so much about her, is her ability to just witness and get curious and ask me questions that allow me to naturally say something that I know deep within my soul. And that's where I get the clarity. And there's never any judgment. There's never any projection. It's just a really beautiful skill and gift, and something that creates another part of the container for real transformation. And so that's one of the reasons why, you know, with the retreat experience, that's the time of year when I love to be able to get so close with you guys, and like, we have that setting where you're fully disconnected from all of your responsibilities, your thoughts, your everyday routines, and you can be a totally different person, and it happens really, really fast. And without even trying, you get everything you need. And it often happens in a totally different way than you expected. And so that was really, you know, part of what happened for me in the last weekend in a really beautiful way. I felt really good going into it. I think the two things I was really intending was, one, on a kind of a 3D level, I was like, I gotta figure out, recently redid my labs, and when I'm in my energy body, you know, my cortisol is running, and part of that is what's going on with my channel, and the other part is something with my diet. And I accidentally kind of figured out that it was this cross reactivity thing, which I talked about on Instagram, which is such a duh thing, but I have not thought about cross reactivity in 10 years. When I first found out I was celiac, at the time, I didn't think about it because I didn't eat any of those foods. And then I realized, oh my God, there's certain foods that I eat like every day, like, or even just once a week that my body thinks is gluten right now, like eggs and like hemp and like potatoes and coffee. So that was a huge, like my whole body lit up when we kind of just bumped into that in the conversation. And, you know, the other piece that I've been thinking about a lot is there's been an inner transformation that's been happening for me over the last 3 years. And I don't talk about it as much. I mean, I've talked about it, but just because it's such a fringe thing, and honestly, a lot of the specifics aren't really relevant to other people. But, you know, if you don't know, 3 years ago, I had a walk-in. And what that is when one soul leaves the body and another soul comes in. So that happened in 2022. And it was a really intense experience for me. I had been told for years it was going to happen. I didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. And the morning that it happened, I was told it was going to happen. So I knew that whole day. But it was something I was prepared for. It was something different intuitives and mentors I had also helped me with, and they had also seen for me. And I had learned about it from other people who have gone through it as well. You know, so I was prepared as I could be. And then everybody has their own unique process of moving through that, who that happens to. But it's been this process over the last 3 years of really allowing that to integrate. This is different than an oversoul integration. I want to be really clear about this because there's a lot of people, this is kind of a whole other thing, but who think they're the same and they're not. An oversoul integration is a natural part of your spiritual ascension process. An oversoul integration, people might feel like it's a walk-in because they feel very different. It's when the rest of your oversoul is going to come in consciously into the body. And so that can include changes in personality and feelings and resonance 100%. But that is different. That is more of your true soul coming in versus a totally different soul coming in. And so they're two different things. And a lot of people think they've had walk-ins and they haven't. Just to be clear, I don't know that really matters, the logistics, but I do want to be specific about that because a lot of people are talking about this and they don't know what they're talking about. It's kind of like twin flames. People talk about twin flames and they don't have a twin flame or they don't know what that really means. So, you know, that's been part of my life path. And what's relevant is that we all in our lives go through deaths and rebirths. What's relevant is that we all in our lives go through periods of massive transformation where we can feel like a totally different person. I mean, talk to somebody who's 40, 50 years old. Are you the same as when you were 20 or 30? No, right? Like even I think about myself, I'm turning 30. This body is turning 30. And who I was, you know, last year, I mean, totally different from when I was 27, totally different, right? We are changing so viscerally. Like our personalities do change and they can change. Some people, they don't. But if you are here watching this, you're probably the person that does change a lot and has gone through big transformations. And what I know to be true is that we are here to go to the extremes of things that we are here to teach and support other people with. And so for me, I've had a lot of extreme experiences in my life path. And I've had those extreme experiences, things with my health, things with relationships, things with like this walk-in and transformation, things with my business. I've had a lot of extremes because those are the things I have to really walk to the edges of and viscerally go through so I can actually understand how to support people in that and really gather as much data as I can and experience and wisdom in that area, which I will continue to throughout my life so that I can actually speak to those things. And having a soul swap, like literally having a different soul in your body while also being conscious of memories that are coming up from the physical vessel, because our body stores its own memory as well. It's a very intense thing. It's a very emotional thing. And for the last couple of years, I've gone through a lot of this feeling of, I don't know who I am. And it part of what happened was at the beginning when the new soul came in, the old soul was still hanging out to act as sort of like training wheels so I could get familiar with the frequency. And eventually the energy kind of started to leave, and it was more like a spirit guide to me. I can still kind of access it in my field, but I still have the cellular memory of some of those frequencies and how things used to work for me. But what's happening, and I think the easiest way to understand this is thinking about it from the lens of an astrology chart or a human design chart, is the way that my energy works and moves is totally different. So whereas, before I'm fire and earth, now I'm pure water. If you think about in human design, like before I'm a quad right, like I'm full flow, I can't have any structure. Now I'm quad left, it's all structure. And when we look at things like numerology and astrology and human design, those are maps. Those are maps of how our energy wants to flow and how we can be most magnetic and how we can manifest and just our natural flow and rhythm in life. And so what happened was I was feeling a lot of resistance. I was feeling a lot of, just not fully in my flow or not as magnetic. And I realized it was because I was still trying to operate off of habit of how my body wanted to move versus how my new soul wanted to flow. And I had to really change that habit. And it's been a long process for me of really accepting and allowing this soul to like fully ground in. There have been certain different periods where I realized a lot of what was going on was this inner tension with me where I missed my Aries. I missed that version of myself, and I honestly was judging this version of myself. There were lots of parts of this version of myself I didn't like, about how much more emotional I became and like how much less productive I felt and how much less motivated I felt because I'm just pure like water, and how much more sensitive I was, and how even just my daily flow was different, and the things that I did in my business, the way that I used to run in my business, I just can't do it that way anymore. And so I realized this human part of me was still in judgment and not accepting myself. And when I wasn't accepting myself, I couldn't learn to love myself. And so I've been on this journey of like, hey, I really want to get to know who I am now. And I want to like just fully see the beauty in that and the strengths in that and lean into that and let it be a totally different flow. And that comes down to everything from like how I decorated my house, to food that I'm eating, to how I'm moving my body, to how I'm communicating, to the colors I like, my wardrobe, color of my hair. We've talked about all of these little things. And the more that I allow myself to just actually express the new part of me, the less familiar part of me, that's the true part of me, the better I feel. And something that really helped me, and this is a really tangible thing, but my guides told me to do this weekend. First, a lot of what was just coming in for me was about like the truth of my soul and imagery and colors and seeing myself of like who I am now, and visions of how my life, my soul wants my life to feel, and like feeling that in my body. And so I was really catching that vibe. I was feeling that vibe. I was letting myself be in all of that. And part of that was realizing that a lot of me not expressing that fully was this way of trying to protect myself. And sometimes I feel like the old version of me could be a lot more protective. Like the Aries protective shell was what I was hiding behind so that I didn't have to fully let everyone feel and see how watery I really am. And it was kind of like two worlds were going on, like my very dreamy, very ethereal, very emotional, very sensitive, just one with the spirits all the time, inner world, which is my truth, which is what I'm floating in every day, and who I was to the people in my life that had a bit more of a wall up to kind of protect that soft gooey center. And so a lot of what I realized was, well, if this is my truth, it has to be fully expressed beyond that shell. I was using that Aries energy as a shell. And that's when my whole body's going to finally feel like at peace. Like that's what calms the nervous system, when we are just being fully authentic and showing who we really are. And a lot of that for me represents kind of fully letting the energies of that old chart go. When I was planning my 30th birthday, I spent a couple weeks really unsure if I wanted to celebrate it in April or July, because my new birthday is July and I just like don't resonate with any part of my April birthday anymore. But something intuitively in me was, no, I should celebrate my 30th in April because my body was born 30 years ago. So that's what I'm doing. And then I was told very strongly that, my 30th birthday is where it completes. After my 30th birthday, the remnants of that old energy are finally going to be gone. It's just going to be me purely in my July 7th triple water sign flow. And I've been getting prepared for that by spirit for the last couple of months. And I feel really excited about it, And so for me, what I used this last weekend for was really a transition, was really a ceremonial shift and rebirth into like who I really am, and fully expressing that and allowing everything to be different so that I can be fully authentic with this version of myself. And what I did very tangibly was first just floated in the vibe, I was just meditating, receiving, floating in the vibe of who I really am, what makes me feel good, what makes me me. I saw my friend Amy from Lazy Millionaire, who was on the show a couple weeks back or months, I don't remember. She had posted something on TikTok that she saw from someone else. I don't remember who it was, but she said that she saw this where someone said, if your brand was a gift shop, what would be inside? And that's a fun way to think about what are the things that make you, So I was like, oracle cards, tarot cards, pendulums, lattes, like pearls, jewelry, like glittery makeup, like all of these things. And that helps express your brand. Whether or not you have a personal brand as a career, we're all personal brands. That's who we are. And one of the things we always want to look at when it comes to manifestation and magnetism, no matter what we want to create in our lives, money, relationships, friends, health, it's all about authenticity. Every single piece of it is authenticity. And so if you look at your inner world and there's part of your inner world that you are not fully expressing, that is what you need to do. You need to express that part of yourself, because now you're being fully authentic. Now you're being fully magnetic. So what I did is I did what I do best, and I went on Pinterest because I love Pinterest, and I made a Pinterest board of Pisces me, Pisces rising me, and I put in different mood boards and colors and textures and drinks and hairstyles. And it was just a whole hodgepodge of the vibe. And really my intention was, if I were to put my inner world on a Pinterest board, what would that look like? Not my future me, right? Like a vision board like that way. My inner world. If I was to try to show someone through vibes, through energy, through aesthetic, this is my inner world, what would it look like? And I did that. And the second I did that, I looked at it and I go, oh my gosh. So now I have a key code to how to express my inner world externally. I just express this vibe. And that gave me a plan. That gave me really a lot of clarity with, okay, these are things that I want to start wearing, and hairstyles I want to start doing. And I'm going to play with that with my matcha, and even designs for business, and even things with graphics for business and how I want to express, and sharing more of my creative work that I'm doing a lot. And it gave me a real roadmap. And that's a really tangible thing that can help guide us through a rebirth. I think a lot of people talk about rebirths and transformation, but they don't talk about the how. And a lot of the how, it's such an internal process, and it's going to be different for everybody. But there are two pieces. One is the energetic and the recognition, the realization, the acceptance, the love, the decisions we make about, I'm going to actually express this within myself. First, I have to get to know myself, but then I have to actually ground that in. And it's grounding it in that actually pulls it all together. And that's a piece that a lot of people miss. We have to actually give ourselves a plan to ground it in, a plan to express it. Because when you show up in an authentic costume of who you really are, right? Because just because you have talked a certain way or dressed a certain way or shown up a certain way for 30 years doesn't mean that's who you really are. You might have never actually shown up that way, but what is the truth of your inner world? And when you see that on a piece of paper and you ask, if I showed somebody this, would they say this looks like me, this aesthetic? And they say no, then you know you're not being fully expressed. And then you have your very tangible roadmap to how to actually fully express yourself. So I left the weekend feeling super excited and lit up, and in getting to that place, there were so many things that, because I vibrationally pulled myself to that place, that I could then look at, and I saw all of the things that I was still holding on to, moments from childhood, moments earlier in my career, things I was still blaming myself for or holding myself back because of. And because I had vibrationally actually let myself shift into who I am now, all of that could just drop away. And that's a very different way of doing healing work than trying to always work in the past. When we pull ourselves into the now and the truth of the now, the stuff in the past can just dissolve. And there's so much liberation in that. And when I was leaving ahead to the airport, I was crying, I was laughing. I just felt this huge release of emotions, like every single emotion. And when you have that release of energy, you're like, whoa, I was holding on to that for who knows how long. And clearly that was the big shift that needed to be made. And there's a feeling you have when that happens, of satisfaction, of joy, of peace, of there it is, that is indescribable. And it's it. Like, that's it. You know, that moment where you're like, that was it. There's nothing better than that. So I'm really excited for what's happening. And part of it is, expressing next version of ourselves, and also honoring and celebrating the old version of ourselves too. So for me, I had that trip, which is amazing. And that felt like my ceremony initiation, vibrational shift. Like I actually left feeling like a different person. And then I'm going to have my 30th birthday, and we're going to celebrate the last 30 years and celebrate, I don't know, like I feels like a celebration of the kind of the old energy of me, which I'm excited about. And then the following weekend, I'm heading home to see my family and doing another celebration with them. And it just feels like the proper way to kind of let all of us close out. And I feel like really excited for how I'm going to feel on April 7th, the day after my body birthday, because I just feel like all of the old energies are going to dissolve. And for that to happen, I had to get to a place where I was willing to let them. And if I could leave you with anything, I would say, ask yourself what part of you is not willing to let the old version of you go. Because that was the thing I had to sit with for a while. And when I was really honest about that, that is when everything broke open, and where I really realized how I could liberate myself. So that's my share. Thanks for listening. Let me know if this resonated for you at all. I want to hear. But if I could encourage you to do anything for yourself, anytime you need clarity, anytime you want to shift, get out of the city you live in. Get out of it. Turn off your phone, right? It's like if you, even if you're in the same house, but you turn off your phone for a day and you are just hanging out with yourself, go out in nature, just chill, you're going to feel like a completely different person. This is how you're going to get the downloads and the transformation. Turn off your phone. Don't look on social media. Don't talk to people. Get out of your space. Those two things, and then a clear intention, you just let the universe deliver. You let spirit deliver. And I promise it happens every time. So as always, I was reminded of and grateful for the magic of the universe and my higher self. And you go through these experiences in life and you're like, wow, I just can't make this shit up. All the signs, all the synchronicities, all of the visceral experiences, it's really pure magic. And I hope everybody experiences that in their life. So that is where I will leave you today. If you enjoy this, let me know. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on the podcast, share to social media. Tag me at Christina the channel and at Multidimensional Pod. Leave a comment on my recent Instagram post. I always love hearing your feedback, what you guys resonate with. It really means the world to me, because when we record these, it's very much just me talking to a camera and Tyler behind me. So I love to interact. So let me know how you're feeling. But I appreciate you being with me today. I'm sending you lots of love, and I will chat with you again next time.